Osmosis is a story of a company and its members who have a goal of bringing people together via a scientific process called osmosis, in which the human consciousness is analyzed to find a person their perfect match. The world that is built around this story has a sensible reason to exist, and the characters within it do as well. In short, the groundwork is set to make a reasonably good television show. The biggest issue I have with the first episode of Osmosis is the way information is revealed, and that's what I'll be talking about throughout this entire review. The use of test subjects in the first episode only seems to be a tool to explain how osmosis works. The ones that get a true spotlight are only tools for character building. For an example of this, there's a kid named Niels Larson who confronts Esther to get into the test subject program. On the surface, the purpose of the scene is to introduce him, but in all honesty, he's a fairly flat character, and he's basically just a sex addict who wants to find love to fix his problem of viewing his partners as objects. And the purpose of his introduction is honestly just to make Esther go out of her way to get him into the program, which is a good juxtaposition to her brother's blatant disregard for anything but success. And this is also shown in the fact that he gets kicked off the board for his own company. No one in the boardroom matters. They're all just tools to show his character building. A tool. The biggest issue with the way the story is told. Every character seems to be a tool to tell the story instead of characters in the world. They all have a reason to exist, mind you. There's no doubt about that. And they all have goals and feelings, the basics of a story. But the way they dump exposition out onto the audience feels so unnatural. The characters feel less like characters and more like goals. It almost seems like it's a goal to get that information out in that scene. And you don't really have to watch it and analyze it to feel like that. I watched this with my roommate who doesn't care about movies, and he agreed that it kind of felt like every scene was just like a lecture. I just want to talk about one scene I really don't like. It's very reminiscent of the NCIS hacking scene.
No way. I'm getting hacked.
In which a computer basically goes all twitchy. The characters act surprised and type a bunch of random stuff onto a keyboard with a surprised expression saying, "I don't know what's happening. We must be getting hacked." In this case, in this show, the computer shuts down and boots back up saying that the CPU is damaged. I have a few problems with this. Firstly, the idea of hacking into a system to damage a CPU makes no sense. On a modern day computer, there's voltage regulators, which basically means you can't damage hardware. And even if you do, it wouldn't do anything. CPU has nothing to do with the stored data on a computer or a company system. All they said that they had to do was reset a drive. Now, on top of this, I understand, especially in this certain scenario, you can see the CPU is this like glowing thing in the center of the room. So, you could say, oh, well, maybe CPUs work differently in this in this world, which is supposedly 20 to 40 years past where we are now. And my only problem with that is that she uses a Microsoft Surface Book and drives a Porsche Panamera, which are like very simple things that date us to the early 2000s. And I think that's a little cheap. Now, the other way to see it is, by saying, oh, well, it's a television show, they don't get funding. But there are plenty of smaller budget, movies even, that get away with it. Ex Machina is a perfect example of not having a very big budget and therefore not introducing technologies that don't need to exist because the budget wouldn't allow for that size of world building. But even like the new Ghost in the Shell movie that came out that wasn't very well received, they used a Lotus Esprit and turned it into like a futuristic supercar. And from what I read online about it, it cost them like $60,000, including the car. You might say that's a lot of money, but a Porsche Panamera is like $80,000. So basically what I'm saying is I think it would have added to the world building, and I think that this scene kind of is just a perfect example of the, I don't want to say laziness, but the underthinking of a lot of the scenes, and I definitely think they should have done some research on what hacking is. But back to the review. A large issue of the story is the fact that it tries to tell the viewer too much too quickly. There are a lot of issues that I would find interesting if I had the time to grow the characters. Etzer, for example, has a lot riding on her in the first episode. Her mother, the timeline for Osmosis to go public, and the subplot of her own sexual/personal life. We don't really get into it, but it's very clear that she has issues connecting to people, and this weird virtual reality thing is something she really enjoys. And these are all great arcs to introduce, but to be frank with you, no one really cares about her yet. I don't care about her or her mother because I haven't been given any time to learn about her. The only reason I should apparently feel bad for her is because I'm blatantly told I should feel bad for her. And that's not how you introduce information. That's not how you write characters. The information revealed doesn't have any nuance to it. It's just rushed to get as much information and world building and character building out of the way in the first episode. And that is not exactly a perfect way to do it. This character would have benefited greatly from drastically reducing the world building in the first episode. I feel like a lot of filmmakers try to convince the viewer on a fantastical world by overloading them with information instead of allowing the viewer to ask questions. Osmosis has a large problem with this. Just tell me the most basic information I need to know and let me learn the world throughout the process. Examples of good shows that include The Sopranos and even Trigun. The first episode of The Sopranos is literally about a guy having a heart attack after he raises some ducks that fly into his pool and they fly away. But the awesome thing about it is that's all you know. It's this weird Italian guy who's a heart attack. But throughout the story, you realize that he's a businessman, and then you kind of question why he's so rich from his business, and then you realize what his business is, which gives you more and more questions. It's that slow lead of information that makes you question and want to come back. But on top of that, Trigun, the story follows a guy in the Wild West, and the entire first episode's focus is on the main character subverting the expectations the people are putting on him. He's seen as a mass murderer, but in reality, every single scene of him is doing the complete opposite of mass murdering people. He's a good guy. And it's a great way to tell the audience how a character acts, but also a great way to tell the audience the expectations other people put on him. On top of this, the beauty of Trigun is you don't find out until episode 15, I think, that the character is not even on the wild, wild west of Earth, America. He's on a different planet, in a desert planet. And the awesome part about it is you're given little hints throughout the entire television show, and as soon as it clicks that he's on a different planet, all of those little hints just perfectly mesh together to an oh moment, and it's a great feeling. Osmosis doesn't do this. For being such a forward-thinking, futuristic show, it tells an underdeveloped idea way too quickly and expects the viewer to care about what happens to the main characters, their family, and their company only after 40 minutes of introduction.